Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. The great Distant Worlds Expedition continues. Here I'm at Lagoon Nebula at Waypoint 2 and met up with a whole bunch of players here. It's proven to be an especially interesting journey, although it is fraught with a few dangers, many of them due to unintended mistakes. En route to the Lagoon Nebula at Waypoint 2, me and my old friend Cmdr Tommy Tucker decided to go exploring on the local planets. And that was all well and good until we both fell into one of the canyons here. Now I settled down fairly nicely using the ship's thrusters. As you can see here, Cmdr Tucker went tumbling down the hill, and I was just waiting for the explosion to come at the end of this fall, but fortunately it didn't happen. He survived the fall, only taking a few % damage to his hull. Losing an SRV out here, of course, could spell disaster. This is the canyon into which we fell and had extreme difficulty getting back out. On this expedition, 12 weeks long and many thousands of light years across, SRVs are an extremely valuable resource. Without them, there's no driving around on planets. Without them, there's no grouping up with other players that are going to be doing a lot of interesting activities. One of the problems with getting down into valleys and gullies like this one is that once you're down into them, you're pretty much stuck. Your ships cannot land unless they find a flat surface, and more often than not there's not any flat surfaces down here at all. My ship was fortunate enough to find a little small ledge to land on, but it did prove very difficult to get up to. A lot of jumping, a lot of thrusting about until finally I made it after quite a lot amount of time. Now we were stuck down in this canyon for close to an hour I believe, trying to get up to our ships. Eventually, as you can see, I did make it into my ship, but poor old Cmdr Tucker was still stuck down in the trenches there. You can see him down there, the small little SRV, his little lights spinning around there. The idea then was for me to move my ship out the way and hope that his ship settled down on the same ledge. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. His ship decided to land at the top of a very steep incline here. It took him quite a while to find a way up. Eventually, he did manage to find an area where his SRV was able to climb. Like I say, this took us quite a lot of time. We were essentially stuck down here around about an hour. Finally, racing towards his ship at the very last minute, his client crashed out to desktop, losing connection, losing his ability to get back into the ship. I stood here and watched for a moment, and after a few seconds his ship just simply disappeared. Now we were both of course hoping that when he loaded back in again, the game would place him at the top of the ledge, but it didn't. It put him right back down in the canyon again. So he had to go through the entire process again before eventually we were able to lift off and leave that planet. Passing through Thor's Eye, I eventually made my way independently to Waypoint 2 at the Lagoon Nebula. This represents a total journey of around about 4,000 light years at this point for the expedition. Not a significant amount of distance, but certainly for many people on the expedition the furthest they'd ever ventured outside of human inhabited space, and that of course afforded them the ability to see many unique and interesting sights out here, things that you of course don't get to see within human space. The organisers of this expedition, Dr. Kai and Aramis, and the many scouts who have found some very nice waypoint meeting locations for us all. You can see here that we were treated to a spectacular horizon there. This footage was taken just a few minutes before the earlier footage, which was set in darkness. The star in the distance there you can see is just about to eclipse itself behind the gas giant, and as soon as that happened this whole area descended into complete darkness. Although I was actually a few hours late for the initial meeting point here, when I did arrive there was still a lot of people around. I once again winged up with Cmdr Tommy Tucker, but did just miss out on a meeting with Commander Chaos Wolf, who I was also hoping to wing up with, but that came a little later on. Now this guy here in the Anaconda, I had no idea what he was up to. I think he was initially landed and then decided to take off again and perhaps reposition his ship, but it looked like he was going to cause all sorts of havoc here. Initially I thought he was going to crush my SRV, but I just kept backing out. I thought surely he was either going to move upwards or settle down at any moment, but that was when he came into contact with the shields of that Cobra there. No idea if he caused any damage to it, but as you can see very shortly thereafter the Cobra decided to move out the way, and I thought it a good idea to actually dismiss my ship as well. Among these few moments of chaos, someone decided to try and drive their SRV beneath the Anaconda, and you see their shields flicker momentarily as they nearly get crushed by it. Eventually though, after this fun little meetup, it was time to move on and take a look at the local sites. A few kilometres from the meeting encampment was a massive crater filled with great mountain range. It turned out to be a crater that is actually filled with mist as well, so we decided it would be a lovely place to explore. Flying through locations like this is something I've always wanted to do within a game, and until Elite, none have really actually offered it. Now, there are explorers out there, and there are explorers. Some explorers just like to scan data and travel around from system to system, looking for valuable planets such as water worlds and Earth-likes in order to increase their credits and ranking. But then there are other explorers that have a true passion for exploring. The sort of explorer that goes out into the depths of space looking for places that no one has ever seen before. Going into the wilds, as it were, to make the true discoveries, to find these sort of locations. And it's a passion like that that this expedition is founded upon. The sort of passion that drove Eramus to be the first explorer to reach the other side of the galaxy. The sort of passion that drives Eramus, Dr. Kai, and many others such as myself and Commander Tucker here to go down onto the surface of the planets and just feel a part of the natural environment. Now, if one day Frontier come up with a game mechanic that incentivizes this type of exploration, then they will be onto a true world-leading class of game. Until then though, there will perhaps continue to be a split among those that seek unique gameplay experiences and those that enjoy the unique simulation that this galaxy offers. Beyond the Lagoon Nebula is the Omega Nebula, and within that nebula is Waypoint 3 for this expedition. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to make the meeting time for that, and so don't have any footage for that location. I did though manage to make it to Waypoint 4 on time within the Eagle Nebula, and the footage for that will be in the next Distant Worlds video I release. But before I got there, I did come across another player who I winged up with, someone I'd planned to wing up with, and we had a nice little adventure together. Of course, you probably know this other guy. This is Commander Chaos Wolf. If you want to see the full extent of our little expedition here, you can check out Commander Chaos Wolf's YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the video description below. But we did spend about an hour to 2 hours together here, and he's got that covered on one of his recent videos. Now, between the pair of us here, we did find a lot of very nice places here, quite a lot of valuable planets. A few high metallic content planets, as well as a water world or two. Now, the systems out here are still quite unusual. A lot of them have many stars within them, stars of all different types, and then there's systems like this one that have a whole bunch of gas giants within them as well. After quite a lot of exploring within space, we ultimately decided that we'd settle down on a planet round here and have a bit of a drive around. After some orbital reconnaissance, I saw this interesting looking feature here, and we both decided to head on down and take a closer look at it. Chaos Wolf is out here in his Anaconda. I believe he's got quite a large jump range on it, somewhere in the region of 36 light years if I remember correctly, and just also brought with him quite a few SRVs. Always recommend bringing a couple of backup ones if you can. He did, of course, tell me of his little adventure where he face-planted his Anaconda into the surface of a planet. I think he knocked himself down to around about 50 or 60% on the hull, so he ended up going back to inhabited space to get some repairs. Fortunately, at this point, we're not too far out. Now, Chaos Wolf did mention that whilst his ultimate destination is Beagle Point, the final location for this particular part of the expedition, he has his own plans for getting there, so that could well prove worthwhile watching. As I closed in on the Eagle Nebula then, this particular leg of the journey was coming to an end. But the adventures within the Eagle Nebula proved to be a whole different type of interesting, and I'll be covering that in the next video for Distant Worlds. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant. The Great Distant Worlds Expedition got underway on Thursday the 14th of January, where over 800 players met in the Pallini system to begin their epic journey across 65,000 light years of space.